Hello YouTube, it's Nova Piper. The young one at school works at Starbucks and she's hooking me up with bags of coffee beans. Must have about 10 pounds of coffee. Starbucks beans. I think this is espresso, but I'd rather the dark stuff. But can't go wrong with free Starbucks beans. Anyway, it's Saturday morning, and I'm smoking. I don't know what it is. Get a little bit of juice in my lighter there. Shit evaporates, eh? Never fill your lighter and then light it next to your face. People always ask, they always say, oh man, Zippos, they make your pipe taste like shit. And nope, no they don't. If you can detect that, you should be like a world famous taste tester, taste testing stuff that gets taste tested. Yep. Yeah, I'm smoking, using my Eric Stockeby 4th generation. I love this pipe. It's a beautiful pipe. It's getting a little bit, right there, you can see on the rim, it's starting to get a little, showing signs of usage, because I smoke it, I use the pipe. And I'm smoking some kind of Frankenstein mixture I slapped together. I found a jar, a mason jar, a little tiny mason jar with just some crumbs of tobacco in it. I have no idea what it was. It's in English. And I had some plum pudding left. So I mixed them together and I got just enough to fill this bowl, so that's perfect. It's mostly plum pudding. I'm going to do a little story today. Not the kind of story that Matches does, but it's kind of about how over the last few years how my piping has changed. I had a heart attack in my 30s, 34. So I quit smoking, quit drinking, quit doing drugs, all that crazy shit. Scared the shit out of me, including smoking a pipe. Now I first started the pipe back in the 90s. My dad smoked a pipe, so I started back in around the early 90s. Drugstore blends, just huffing and puffing as fast as I can, inhaling it, no idea what I was doing. It was gross. Then, probably 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I'm not really sure, it's so hard to keep track of time, man. I fucked up my shoulder. It was a weird injury. I got a vertebrae out of place or something. One of my ribs is out of place, and it causes this, like, my back to seize up, and it goes right up into the back of my shoulder in the trap. And what it did is it damaged the brachial plexus, the nerve bundle right here in the shoulder, and I ended up with what's called brachial atrophy. And as you can see, I have no tricep. Completely gone. So it's nerve damage It went right down my arm into my fingertips. I have pins and needles in these two fingers. You can see a visual difference in the size of my arms, forearms. Anyway, so muscle degradation, it was one of the most painful things I've been through. So while I was laying on the couch, flat on my ass, I couldn't move. I had a jar of peanut butter and a loaf of bread next to me because that's all I could do. Couldn't move. I had to crawl everywhere. Anyway, so I started researching about the pipe, and I got online. I got on pipe forums. And I bought some shitty aromatic tobacco. I bought I think it was Peterson's Nutty Cut or something. I was trying to find that Amphora Rich. So anyway, I put an order in online, and I got some, what was it I remember too, it was Frogmorton Cellar, Orlick, Golden Slice, and some aromatic. And then I smoked the Orlick, and couldn't, like, holy Jesus. It was, didn't know if I liked it or not, because it reminded me of cigarettes. But the Frogmorton Cellar was amazing. It was like my first taste of Latakia. It is pronounced Latakia. I go to school with two women from Syria, and they're from Latakia. I told them all about the tobacco and the pipe and all this stuff, and they had no idea about the history of the tobacco and stuff. Anyway, it was interesting. One of the girls asked her father, and he knew all about it, and she says, "Oh my God." Anyway, so I smoked the Frogmorton and got right into the English. I'm just going to let this video go till I'm done talking. I don't know how long it's going to be. And I was smoking the pipe way too fast. So I was always complaining about pipe gurgle, which still happens. But when you smoke fast, it's worse. The tobacco doesn't taste good when you smoke too fast. And I noticed the English blends were very forgiving for that. You could smoke an English blend, and you could smoke it fast, and it wasn't so bad. Virginia's, forget it. Aromatics, well, I'm still on the fence with aromatics, but I was on some forums and I was asking lots of questions, like I always do. And a veteran said, all you got to do is find three blends, and you'll have yourself a great rotation. 3 blends you like, you'll have a great rotation. I got about 25 bottles of tobacco in there opened, like just 50 gram, 50 grand can, throw it in the bottle, 50 grand can, throw it in the bottle. That'll finish them. So now I'm concentrating on finish them, getting rid of some of them bottles. Another thing that people said is that you go through a cycle as a pipe smoker, and you start off with, a lot of people who first smoke a pipe will start off with an aromatic. It's not really a good idea to, if your friend is, I got friends interested in it, and I even have spare cobs in there that haven't been used in case they want to try it. But I'm not going to start them off with 10 Russians. Aromatics, are sweet, they smell good, and they remind people of what their grandfather used to smoke. So, everybody starts with aromatics and they experiment with it. And that's how they learn to get the. It's too bad, because if you don't get the right cadence, and if you don't smoke it slow enough, or if it's too fast, it could be a terrible experience. So all I had was you guys and the internet to teach me how to do this shit. You can see this pipe's barely going right now. Don't need fancy tampers, so I still use my check tool. There. It's that little tamp that's back going again. What I like about the aromatics and the English blends, not all aromatics though, but most of the English blends that I've smoked are low in nicotine. I don't inhale. I retrohale, but I get a nicotine hit. So the Englishes are pretty good for that. But that's the phase they say you go through. You'll go through aromatics, then you'll go English, then you'll go Virginia. And that's exactly what's happening with me. I was a dominant English smoker, and I try a little aromatic once and again, and rarely a Virginia. And it was because I was smoking too fast. But now, it took a few years, but I smoke a lot slower. And what helped me was I removed lots of poison out of my life. I mean, like people and shit like that, right? Fucking jobs and people and having something positive going on, you know what I mean? That's the big thing. Smoking a pipe isn't a boat. You know, it's not a boat, it's not a delivery mechanism, or it's not a delivery system for nicotine like cigarettes. Pipes and cigars are about mindfulness, relaxation. Okay. Like I got up, I got showered, I got my shit done, I did what I had to do. I got a chance now to have my morning coffee. Oh, it's a nice, cool morning. It's only about 20 degrees. It's breezy. Everything's green. But it's about relaxing. So I got into the English. And I was buying and trying all kinds of different tobaccos. I'm going to say probably 80% of the tobaccos that I would buy and try, or people would send to me, I didn't like. And the tobaccos I do like, I can't smoke them all the time. I like 10 Russians. 10 Russians. I like Balkan mixture. Balkan Sassini. I haven't smoked Balkan Sassini in about a year. Maybe, I don't know, I'm guessing. I got a fresh can in there, not open. But I have so many other tobaccos open that are very similar to that. The Balkan mixture I tried the other day, and I don't like it as much as I used to, or maybe I just need to be in the mood for it. The 10 Russians, same thing. It has to be I have to be in the right frame of mind for it. If I do, rarely do I ever smoke a second bowl in a day. If I do, it's usually a lighter tobacco. That's when I usually smoke my aromatics. This is when I smoke my Englishes. If I come home after school and I have my first pipe, I'll smoke a Virginia. But what I was doing was, all these tobaccos I was trying, I was getting wet. And I would dry them out. And then, sometimes I dry them out too much. And I try them and say, hey man, this fucking smokes great. So I was drying the shit out of my tobacco. And I can still smoke really dry tobacco. And the reason why I was enjoying the dry tobacco is how science works now. So when the tobacco's wet, you have to produce enough BTUs, you need enough heat energy to boil off the water in order for the tobacco to combust. So with wet tobacco, it's the same as if you have a fireplace. Let's say you got your burning wet wood in your fireplace. You all know that it's really hard to keep it going. You got to get it really hot because you got to boil that water off. Sometimes you get wet wood, you hear it steaming. Really bad, man. It's dangerous too. Same thing with tobacco. So your pipe gets really hot. So when because I smoke so fast, I dry the shit out of it, and my pipe wouldn't get as hot. I didn't need as much heat. So when I was smoking fast, I was smoking dry tobacco. But now I don't. Now I don't dry my tobacco out like that. Like, I'm not talking Sam Gawith wet. Most tobacco I get. There's not too much tobacco I can get out of a can that I can smoke right out of a can. I can smoke it out of a can, but I prefer it to be a little bit drier. Problem what I'm doing now is this is kind of going out, and I'm trying to tamp it back to life. And if I'm not careful, it's usually this side, it's usually the stem side. This side here will burn faster than this side. And then when I get down, you gotta chuck it. So now it's time for a little heat. Put a plug in there. It's plugged up. It's the bottom of the can, so there's a lot of fine particulates in there, and it plugs up the air hole quite easily, and I'm getting a little, that's better. So I was smoking really dry tobacco, and then I started smoking it a bit wet. And I had different Virginias kicking around, and the Virginias that I had kicking around, because I didn't like them, they were sitting there for a long time, getting age on them. Now I had lots of English, and I was aging English. I had some year-old, like this plum pudding in here is, man, a year and a half old. It's not that I just opened it, it's been in a can for a year. In a can, not, you know how plum pudding comes, it's that weird cut. It's kind of like cross-cut pressed, you gotta break it up. It's not a flake. It's like a cross-cut flake. No, it's not a flake cut this way, it's like a flake cut that way. But anyway, it's still in the can, man, for a year and a half with just the plastic lid on it, and it's not dry, it's not wet, it's perfect. So I had all this Virginia kicking around. Then I'd try it once in a while, and smoking it too fast would be shit. I'd get the hiccups, get the fucking shits. Nicotine, right? It tastes terrible. And it would taste like shit when you get to the bottom. That's what's important to me, man. Tobacco gotta taste good, the whole bowl. That's one of the selling points for me. It's not gonna taste the same as when you first light it, but it's gonna be consistent. And then I think I got a lot of toxicity out of my life, and then I tried a Virginia. I bought some Seattle Pipe Club. It was the Vapor, I forget what it's called. And I smoked it one day, and it was pretty good. Then I tried it again another day, and it was terrible. And what it was is how fast I was smoking. So now, what got me going was I had some Dunhill. I don't like Dunhill Englishes, but I had some Dunhill Flake. I think it's called Dunhill Flake. And it's just straight Virginia, put it in a bowl, smoked it real slow, and went, man, this shit's fucking good. And then I tried a different Virginia. Forget what it was. I didn't like it. And I smoked it slow, go, nope, don't like this. Smoked some Orlick and went, it's not too bad. I've always had Orlick kicking around because it has that, it's a unique Virginia flavor. To me anyway. Because I'm an English smoker. But basically I've been trying a lot more Virginias, and I'm smoking them really slow. I got bags of tobacco people have sent me, so I found an old bag, and they're all together, like, so it's a big plastic bag filled with all these little samples, and they're all dried out, and they all taste the same. Not taste the same, but they all get that, because they're all together, they all have that smell. So anyway, I took some Dunhill Ye Old Sign or something, I forget what it was, and I put it in a jar, I moistened it up, tried a bowl of it. It wasn't too bad, but it got pretty nasty towards the bottom, and I got a nicotine hit off it. But I could appreciate it a lot better now. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm trying to get through some of the tobacco I have. I still have some, I know you can't get it now, but I still have some, I got some Frogmorton Original, Frog in a Log. I got some Frogmorton Cellar. I got some Cross the Pond in there. Not very much, but I got some. Doesn't taste that good. English should be smoked fresh. No need to age it. And the dude from McClellan there, I listened to some interviews by him, and he said the same thing. Don't age your friggin' English, just smoke them. Age Virginia, yeah. So I bought some Orlick, opened up the can and tried it. It's cool. And then I found a jar in there that's probably a year old. Cool. I'm still smoking English. I still like my English. I like the variety. But yeah, anyway, enough of the rambling. So that's how I ended up appreciating Virginias. I followed the cycle like somebody told me years ago. You'll start with aromatics, you'll go to English, and then you'll go to Virginia. But I was also went from smoking too fast because the tobacco was wet, and then I was drying it out and still smoking it fast, and that's why the Virginias tasted like shit. But now I'm learning to smoke moist tobacco and smoke it slow, and that's the way to do it. Just smoke it slow. It should go out. This pipe ain't burning. That's cool. It's not because the tobacco's too wet. Anyway, thanks for watching. See ya.